your assignments. You'll be producing roughly 40 images. See each assignment description for details, but typically you make 40 images. You may make more. You can submit all of the images that you produce for each assignment. Just go ahead and you'll just be proofing them. Just makes your file a little bit larger. It's no problem for me. But in the library pane here, we're going to move to creating a contact sheet. So here's my entire shoot. This is some documentation of historical family documents that I did. Anyways, I'm going to select all of them just by doing Control A. You can see that I'm working in Lightroom 3. I'm also working in Windows. You might have some differences as we move along, but we'll try and cover all those as well. I've selected them all from the library pane. That's my shoot for the week. I'm going to go to the print pane, and then on the left side here, let's just choose first a contact sheet from within. So here is the basic proof that you may be accustomed to looking at, but this doesn't give us any kind of opportunity to really look at your images, and it doesn't give us all the data we want to. So let's just go ahead and push a little bit closer. Went to a 4x5, and we've got much larger images here now, and that's a good start. But then we're just going to go over to the right side here and start customizing our contact sheet. So I'm going to take it down to a smaller number of rows and a smaller number of columns. 3 by 3. And now we just have 9 images per page. They're of a decent size, and we're looking at it so far as just a letter size, but they're of a decent size for viewing. Let's make some other changes here. Going down the control panel, let's go ahead and change the background color from white to gray. And just choose one of these grays here. Best way to judge exposure and color of an image is to surround it by a neutral gray. I might have to go back here too to give ourselves a little bit of padding between these frames. We don't want them to run together. So all we do is just increase our cell spacing just a little bit here. And we can also, there we go, something about that. Just keeping each image separate. We've got a great background. We're at 9 images per page now. And let's go down to photo info. And this will be essential to make your proof sheets in compliance with the course. Edit. Okay, and you're just going to get a template here. It may just be file name originally, and that's good and that's helpful. And then let's add some EXIF data. Let's insert exposure and insert ISO. And that, coupled with clicking done, will add all of this information below each frame. Now, it's a known issue, though, that commonly this information starts to stop after the first page. So let's go ahead and reduce the font size just a little bit, maybe to about 8. It's just important that we can read it on the page. It doesn't have to be emphatic or large. It just has to be there. And so now your proof sheets are not only highly viewable, and they're of course also in full compliance with the course requirements. Each frame must have F-shutter and ISO below it. Doesn't really have to have file name. I'm not too concerned about that, but F-shutter and ISO, absolutely. Good additional tweak here is probably to turn off draft mode printing and let it go for a little bit higher res. This way it's going to keep probably more pixels per frame and possibly compress the file less. Now we get into a slightly trickier zone. And actually, before we get to the trickier zone, let's go over here to page setup. And as best you can, let's go landscape. And let's choose from this list 11 by 17. Okay. Now, up in this box here, this box in particular may be significantly different depending on which version of Lightroom you're using and whether you're on Mac or PC. And if you're on a very new version of with OS for Mac, you may not have the ability to choose Adobe PDF as a printer. It will say something like Save as PDF. But hopefully you can access the paper size and landscape orientation for it and choose Adobe PDF as a printer. Because what we want to do here is we want to print this thing virtually. We're going to create a file from it. Obviously, we're not going to print it out as a hard copy. Now, once I switch to landscape, my cell spacing changed just a little bit. I'm just going to tweak that just a little bit like that. I'm also going to adjust the margins just a little bit so that we don't have things running off the edge. Top and bottom are fine because we're typically protected by data and by the image box. But that is looking quite good. And then now once we've done our tweaking, starting from that standard Lightroom template, we have a customized template that we can save and use. Just go over to your template browser, create new, give it a name, and click Create. And now that template will appear in your user template area. And you can just choose it here. If you forget some things and you go back in and make changes, just make those changes, then right-click on that template and use Update with Current Settings. You've now created a template that you can use for all your work here. It's very customized, it's very viewable, it includes all of our data. And now we just need to create a final version of it. Now these can be JPEGs if necessary. Preferably they are PDFs. It allows me to mark things up much more readily, and hopefully you can accomplish that in one step. You can always, of course, create JPEG versions and then package them into a single PDF, but preferably you'll just be able to print straight to PDF. And I'm just doing Control P here, choosing Adobe PDF as the printer from this list if it's not there yet. And then in Properties here, we are able to even modify how much compression, etc., Adobe PDF is going to use. But standard should be typically fine here. And then we just click OK. It's going to ask us where to put that file, and then we'll just give it a file name. And each time, each week, only variation, week 1, assignment 3, for example. And then your last name, something along these lines. Okay, I'm using just a kind of recollection version here, but it's basically going to be week number, assignment number, your last name, first initial, and then proof for contact sheet. One of the two is just fine, and then we click Save. And here is that proof sheet opened up in Acrobat. I'd probably go back and do a little bit of a tweak here. I'd put some spaces within that template editor for the photo information so that I have separation between ISO and F and shutter, etc. But this is looking quite beautiful. You see that each image is given ample opportunity. This is at 100% on my screen, nice and viewable. I can see and read each image individually, not only for its technical properties, but for its creative properties as well. And I can look at the information by doing Control D, and there I can see my page size. And we're just still at 8.5 by 11 here. I've got to go back and do another little tweak here on page size. But the information, even at 100% of an 8.5 by 11, is very perusable, very clean, high quality proof. So here I am back in Lightroom, going to fix my page setup error. Here we go. Back in, choosing that file size of 11 by 17, clicking OK. Update with current settings. Let's go back in and change that photo info. Edit. Tapping in some spaces here and clicking Done. And this should give us spaces in between. I would export it to test it and be all done. I hope this has been helpful as a means of creating a high-grade contact sheet. Let me know if you have any questions about this. And again, a JPEG version is fine. Using the print button can generally be fine here. Preferably, you can get to Adobe PDF with newer versions of Lightroom and Mac OS X. You're generally going to be saving as a PDF. using the buttons below rather than choosing it as a printer. But again, JPEGs are fine, but provided that they look like this, you're going to be in very good shape for full and complete review. That is printing contact sheets or proof sheets, best yet, since we don't have any actual physical contact to define them. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.